The blizzard came crashing down as if it wanted to erase every trace of human life. Eli Carver, a poor rancher, pulled his tattered wool coat tighter around himself, leading a scrawny horse and hunching forward against the wind with Lila, his 7-year-old daughter. "Daddy, I cannot see the road anymore. Hold on to my hand, sweetheart. The wind will pass soon." Just then, the horse stopped abruptly. At the bottom of the slope, lying still in the white snow, was a motionless figure, black hair covered in frost, sun-kissed bronze skin, and a neck bound by a rope that had snapped halfway. Eli knelt down and pressed his hand to her neck. "She is still breathing." He did not ask who she was. He simply lifted her onto the horse and covered her with the last piece of hide he had. "Daddy, is she an Apache?" "Yes. But tonight, she is just someone who needs to live." The wind howled. They struggled through the snow, heading toward a small cabin tucked beneath the cliff. When the wooden door finally shut, the first flame flickered to life in the stove. The Apache girl lay motionless, her strong shoulders marked with whip scars, her sinewy hands trembling faintly in a fevered sleep. Eli pulled a blanket over her, while Lila sat close to the stove, whispering with a shiver, "Daddy." "She looks like a statue," he replied softly. "Yes, but even stone statues need fire to survive." The storm still howled outside, but inside that old, weather-beaten cabin, a small flame of compassion had been lit in the middle of a storm shaped by fate. The small cabin was pitch dark, with only the sound of wind howling through the wooden roof. Eli laid the woman down on the bed. Her skin was cold as stone. He wrapped a blanket around her and rubbed her hands gently with warm water. Lila sat near the stove, shivering as she watched, her voice barely a whisper. "Is she going to die, Daddy?" Eli answered softly, "Not yet. If we keep the fire going, she will pull through." The fire burned low. All night, the father and daughter took turns watching over her. Outside, the wind howled like a wild beast. Around midnight, the woman stirred. Eli leaned in, her dark eyes opened deep and fierce. He spoke gently. "Do not be afraid. You are safe now." She looked around, breathing heavily. "Why did you save me?" "Because no one deserves to die out in the snow," Eli replied. She said nothing. Her breathing slowed. Eli scooped up some porridge and fed her small spoonfuls. Lila stood close by, her tiny hand gripping the corner of her father's coat. When she finished eating, Eli said, "Get some rest. The wind will quiet down soon." She looked at him, her voice hoarse. "I will not forget this." He simply replied, "You do not have to. Just live." By morning, the sky had cleared. The first rays of sunlight slipped through the cracks in the wooden door. Eli awoke to find the bed empty. The Apache girl was gone. No sound of footsteps, no goodbye. On the table, there was only a copper bracelet engraved with the image of an eagle. He picked it up, his fingers brushing the metal, which still held a trace of warmth. Outside the door, the wind carried the scent of melting snow and fresh earth. Lila stepped up, her voice still sleepy. "She is gone, Daddy." "Yes. Someone like her never stays in one place for long." "Will she come back?" Eli looked out at the vast white field. "Maybe." When the wind changes, he hung the bracelet by the door, where anyone who entered would see it. Not as a keepsake, but as a reminder that kindness is never truly lost, even in a land buried beneath the storm. 3 weeks passed. The wind now carried the warmth of spring. Eli kept working alone, mending fences, chopping wood, tending to a few scrawny cows. Lila ran around the yard, singing to herself, always brushing her fingers against the copper bracelet by the door each time she went in or out. She would say, "Daddy, when the eagle comes back, she will return." Eli only smiled. "Yes." When the wind changes, one afternoon, the sound of hooves echoed in the distance. Not just one. Several. Eli stood up, his hand gripping the handle of his axe. On the hill, 5 Apache riders appeared, mounted on black horses, approaching slowly and silently. Dust, rising with every step. The one in front dismounted tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a leather coat embroidered with tribal patterns. He did not reach for a weapon. Instead, he pulled a rolled piece of tanned hide from his bag and handed it to Eli. "She told us to bring this to you," he said, voice deep and firm. Eli unrolled it. Inside was the emblem of the Eagle tribe, the same symbol engraved on her copper bracelet, and a note, written in bold, strong strokes. My name is Neola. I am not a runaway. I am the heir to the land of Ash Mesa, the place where you saved me from death. I am inviting you there, not out of gratitude, but to build a true ranch together. You have strength. I have land. You bring the fire. I bring the wind. Together, we will build a place where both white and Apache people can live. Not a charity, but a partnership. Eli read it over and over. Lila tugged on his sleeve, her voice excited. Daddy, is she asking us to be friends? Eli smiled. Not just friends, sweetheart. She is asking us to begin again. He looked toward the riders. Where is she now? The Apache man replied. She is waiting at Ash Mesa, where the 3 old cacti stand. Eli nodded, gripping the letter tightly. The wind rose, swirling dust and grit around his worn boots. He knew this was not a love story. It was the beginning of something bigger, a new piece of land, where a poor white man and a strong Apache warrior would build something the West had never seen before. Trust. The road to Ash Mesa was long and rocky. The horse trudged forward, tired, red dust clinging to their clothes. Lila sat behind her father, yawning as she looked into the distance. Daddy, are you sure she is really there? Eli gave a soft nod. If she said she would wait, then she will wait. The sun began to sink. Far ahead, 3 old cacti leaned into the golden sunset. Behind them lay a wide stretch of land, with newly built fences, a few leather tents, and kitchen smoke rising into the sky. As the horse came to a stop, a tall figure stepped out from the reddish light. It was her, Neola. Still the same strong shoulders, bronze skin, muscles visible beneath a weathered buckskin dress. Her face no longer pale like that snowy night, it was solid now, glowing in the sunlight. Her dark eyes, just as deep as before, but this time, calm. You really came, she said. Her voice husky, part surprised, part like she had always known. Eli dismounted, unfastening the reins. I always keep my word. Lila stepped forward shyly, smiling a little. Are you the eagle? Neola looked at her, then nodded with a quiet smile. Yes. But today, the eagle wants to build a nest. They shared their first meal in silence. Grilled venison, corn cakes, and the dry desert wind. Neola told them this land had once been a trading ground for 3 tribes now abandoned because of war. She had returned, hoping to build a shared camp where Apache and frontier folk could live and work together. People need land. I have land. People need trust. I need someone like you, she said. Eli looked around. Dry, fertile earth, he replied slowly. All I know is how to work. I do not promise anything grand. She nodded. That is all I need. Night fell. The wind swept across the sand, sounding like the breath of the land itself. Lila had fallen asleep by the fire, her head resting on Neola's shoulder. Eli sat watching them, feeling a strange kind of peace. He thought about the winter that had passed, and realized the wind may have truly changed. I am so grateful for your presence here. If this story brought back memories of dusty afternoons, of hoofbeats echoing in your heart, then go ahead and subscribe to my channel, so that every day we can sit together again, and I will tell you another story from the West. Ash Mesa was nothing like the barren land they had imagined. When Eli and Lila arrived, what stretched out before them was a vast territory reaching all the way to the horizon. Horses galloped like the wind, and tribal flags fluttered fiercely atop tall wooden poles. There were red brick houses, cattle pens, water wells, and dozens of Apache men and women hard at work. A true empire built in the heart of the sun-scorched desert. Lila gripped her father's hand tightly, eyes wide with wonder. Daddy, is she a queen? Eli only smiled, gently squeezing her hand. Maybe she is. As they stopped, a group of riders approached to greet them. Leading them was Neola, riding a black horse, wearing a leather coat embroidered with the silver eagle symbol. She dismounted, her eyes steady, her smile calm. Welcome to my land, she said. No more blizzards, only the sun now. Eli replied softly, I can see that, and I think I am standing in the middle of something truly big. She led the father and daughter past the newly built fences, past granaries and herds of young horses. This land was passed down from my ancestors. After the war, it was left abandoned. Now I want to turn it into a place where two worlds can work together without fear." She turned and handed him a rolled piece of hide stamped with the tribal seal. "This is the contract between you and me, Eli Carver. I am offering you the position of supervisor for the new ranching areas. $150 per month, a private home for you and your daughter, and your own plot of land for raising livestock. This is not charity. This is a partnership." Eli looked at the paper, then back at her. "You really believe I can do this?" Naola nodded. "I do not trust easily. But I owe you my life, and more importantly, I need someone decent like you." Lila stood beside them, her eyes shining. "Daddy, do we have a new home now?" Eli smiled, soft as the breeze over prairie grass. "Yes, but this time, it is a home for both worlds." They shook hands. No ceremony, no grand speeches, just two people who had once been lost, now standing together in the red dust, choosing to believe that kindness can build something stronger than any fortress. 3 weeks after the agreement was signed, Ash Mesa had completely transformed. New fences were in place, deeper wells had been dug, and the cattle pens were bigger. Eli worked from dawn until night. Lila's laughter echoed across the ranch. She had learned to ride a small horse, her hair tied with a strip of leather braided by Naola. Everything seemed peaceful, until one afternoon. From the hills came a crowd of Apache men, dozens of them. They carried spears, bows, and eyes filled with anger. The wind picked up, and red dust swirled through the air. Eli was patching a fence when he looked up and saw them surrounding the ranch. At the front stood an old chief, his shoulders draped in a bearskin, his voice hoarse and heavy. "This land belongs to our ancestors. No white man is allowed to live here." Lila, frightened, clutched her father's hand. Eli remained calm, speaking slowly. "I did not come here to take land. I am just working. Naola invited me." Voices stirred through the crowd. A younger man shouted, "She betrayed her own blood. We do not need the pity of white men." The camp roared with unrest. Eli moved his daughter behind him, gripping the handle of his shovel. He did not want to fight, but he would not back down. Just then, the sound of hooves rang out. Naola appeared, riding her black horse. Hair flying in the wind, sunlight burning across her sun-bronzed shoulders. She charged straight into the circle, reined in her horse, and shouted, "Enough." Silence fell. Only the wind and heavy breathing remained. She looked around, her voice clear and firm. "This man saved my life. On a stormy night. He did not ask who I was, he only knew I was dying. I invited him here, not out of debt, but out of trust." She pointed to the red earth. "This is the land of our ancestors. But if they were here today, they would ask, why would we drive away the one who brought fire to warm us?" No one answered. The desert wind swept through, lifting red dust around the hooves of her horse. The old chief slowly lowered his spear. "We will trust you just this once," he said. Then the group turned and left, silence stretching in their wake. Eli exhaled, releasing the handle of his shovel. Naola dismounted, looked at him, and spoke in a low, steady voice. "Now you see. Around here, trust costs more than gold." It replied quietly. "Then we pay with hard work." She gave a rare, soft smile. The hard work of two people might just change an entire land. Spring arrived slowly. After months of red winds and dust, Ash Mesa was now painted in green. Grass grew along the fences, water rose clear in the wells, and young horses galloped freely across the fields. A newly built wooden house stood on the slope, its chimney smoke rising every morning. Eli still woke early. He kept his routine of brewing strong black coffee, then stepping outside to watch the sun come up. Now, there was no more swirling dust, only the sound of roosters crowing and Lila's laughter echoing from the barnyard. She was playing with a group of Apache children, running and calling out, "Daddy, Miss Naola says we are having a feast today for the first grass of the season." He smiled. It had been a long time since he had seen his daughter this happy. As evening fell, Naola arrived. She wore a dark buckskin dress, her hair loose, sun-browned shoulders glowing in the sunset. "The grass is good now," she said. "The cattle will be strong this year." Eli nodded. "It is all thanks to you." She gave a soft laugh. "Thanks to the land. I only listened to it. They walked together along the narrow stream that crossed the field. Neither said much, just the sound of water trickling and wind passing gently through their hair. Eli glanced at her, his gaze softening. "You know, I never thought I would live on Apache land and feel this at peace." Naola looked into the distance, her smile quiet, her voice low. "And I never thought I would trust a white man and not be afraid." They were silent again. Then both laughed, a real, gentle laugh, like two people who had finally realized they were no longer standing on opposite sides. That night, the ranch held a small feast. Drums and flutes rang out. The fire burned bright in the middle of the crowd. Lila danced in circles, holding wildflowers, then placed them in Naola's hair and shouted, "She looks just like the mom I see in my dreams." Eli froze for a moment, and Naola lowered her head slightly, saying nothing. The firelight lit up her face, strong, gentle, and somehow warmer than ever before. After everyone had gone to sleep, she came to sit beside him on the wooden steps. The moon hung high, casting silver light across the fields. She spoke softly, almost as if afraid the wind might hear it. "Eli, you are not going anywhere, are you?" He looked at her, his smile quiet and a little sad, but warm. "You know me by now. I do not have anywhere else to go." They said nothing more, just sat beside each other, listening to the crickets and the night wind, as if Ash Mesa had been home to both of them for a very long time. 1 year had passed since the blizzard brought them together. Ash Mesa had changed completely. Fields of grass stretched all the way to the distant hills, and the wells were so clear you could see the bottom. Children ran and played everywhere, white, bronze, black, and no one cared anymore. Apache families, settlers, people once cast aside by society. They had all found their way here. They called this place the home of two worlds. Eli leaned on his rake, watching the cattle graze peacefully. Across the field, Naola rode by, her black hair flying in the wind, her sun-bronzed shoulders glowing in the golden light. She dismounted and tossed him a leather pouch filled with corn seeds. "Plant this new strip," she said. "The land here seems to like your hands." Eli chuckled as he caught the bag. "And you seem to like giving orders." She laughed. "Someone's got to keep you working." From afar, Lila came running, holding a bunch of wildflowers, laughing brightly. "Daddy," Miss Naola said yes today. Eli looked at her, surprised. "Said yes to what?" Naola glanced over, wearing a rare, shy smile. "To your proposal last night." Lila jumped with joy, squealing like a little bird. News spread through the ranch, and everyone celebrated. That evening, they built a large fire circle in the field. No ceremony, no strong liquor, just a circle of people holding hands, singing an old song of the Eagle tribe. Eli and Naola stood in the center, firelight dancing across their faces, a white man and an Apache woman, both looking forward toward the future. Naola leaned in and whispered, just loud enough for him to hear, "I used to dream I would die in a snowstorm, but then you came, and since then, the storm lives only in my memory." Eli took her hand, his voice low and steady. "And I used to believe I would never find a home again. But now I have." The night wind blew across the fields, carrying laughter, drums, and the scent of fresh spring earth. Leela had fallen asleep in Naola's lap, a soft smile still on her lips. Above them, an eagle circled the firelight as if the ancestors themselves were offering their blessing over this land. From that day forward, people would say, at Ash Mesa, if a lost soul ever wanders through, they will always find a place by the fire, a warm meal, a soft blanket, and someone ready to listen to their story. Because here, a rancher and an Apache woman once proved something powerful, that kindness knows no borders, and love does not need to match the color of skin to be real. My friend, in this harsh land, kindness is the only thing that grows without rain. One small act can save someone's whole life. And kindness never needs to be repaid, it finds its way back on its own, like the wind that crosses the plains, far-reaching, but never lost. It has been a joy traveling with you through this story. I truly wish for peace and happiness to follow you, wherever you are in the world. I love you all, the esteemed audience of Wild West storytelling. Tell me what you thought of this story. Leave a comment below. Type the number 1 if you enjoyed this tale. And do not forget to subscribe to the channel for more thrilling stories from the Wild West.